By the clock on the computer, it's 6:30. I'll call the Agenda Committee meeting to order. Please register your presence by voting yes and confirming.
I'll take it down.
Mr. Carver.
Thank you.
I'll just delete it.
Thank you. Because I had taken a lot of grief over it.
You have 21 present.
21 present. We do have a quorum. Would you please roll the emergency announcement, John?
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you've reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
All right, the first item on the agenda is to set the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to set the agenda. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Second. Commissioner Carver, any discussion? The board is clear. If you're in favor, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
There's 21 yeses.
The agenda is set. The next item on the agenda is public input on items on the agenda. If you'd like to speak to an item that's on the agenda, please raise your hand. Come forward, please, sir. If you'll give us your name and the district in which you live.
Harry Groth, John, Division District 9, and item G5. It's good that we are seeking surveys from independent contractors. The disappointing circumstances of that survey, Mr. Chairman, is that the 17 municipalities that are compared are municipalities, they're corporations, they're incorporated cities, they are not counties. I don't think that's a realistic comparison, Mr. Chairman. And then also the higher paid people, the middle income people in that management chart, are not reflected in the results. So what we have here, when the Citizens for Better Government did a study of the Blount County Sheriff's Department, for instance, in 2010, found that the middle management people were, paid way above what other middle management people are being paid. However, the people at the bottom of the scale were not being paid what their counterparts were in other counties. And so it's an internal problem of management, according to that study, and I don't think this study has the credibility it needs to justify the recommendations it's making. And when you look at the fact that we're asking people who the average Blount Countyan makes $24,000 a year to pay the salaries of 2/3 of the county employees who are making more than them. And on top of that $24,000 a year salaried person for the county, they're getting another $7,500 tax-free benefit paid for by those county employees, the county taxpayer, who's making less than $24,000 a year. Now, I ask you the same question I asked the mayor in the budget committee a month ago. What is your rationale? How can you reasonably expect and ask people who are making less than $24,000 a year to pay 25% more taxes to support an employee-based system that's getting $34,000 a year income and $7,000 of that is tax-free? Please help us understand your thinking. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Items on the agenda. Seeing no, okay, come forward, sir. Give us your name and where you reside.
Dick Scott, District 10. I'd like to speak on two items. First one, very quickly. In February, my mother-in-law had a stroke, and I was quite critical of the response time of rural metro to get there to take her to the hospital. Last night she had another one, and I know people are quick to complain, slow to compliment, but I do want to compliment them on the time it took them to get there. It was very quick, very efficient. Had her in the ambulance in less than 5 minutes and on the way to the hospital, and I appreciate that. I want to state that publicly. The other one is I'd like to speak on G5. And do I get 3 minutes on each subject?
No, sir, 3 minutes.
Oh, I don't?
And we don't eat any of it up, so go right ahead.
Okay. I thought a great deal about what I wanted to say tonight, and if I'm out of order, Mr. Chairman, so be it. You can call me out of order and I'll change. I know there's going to be some serious business coming before this Board of Commissioners on the budget and on the green evergreen solutions. I certainly do not agree with the previous speaker. Just because some people are poor, we ought to make sure there's more of them. I think we ought to make sure there's less of them. And the way to make it less is to get away from some of the embarrassing salaries that are paid our county employees. It is an embarrassment, and it should be. One thing I'd like to say also, I better hurry, is I know there's going to be some no votes. Some of those no votes are going to be just covering their political backside, and for no other reason. Other no votes, I can understand and respect. What I would like to see from each commissioner that wants to vote no, and does vote no, where's the alternative? What do you suggest be done in place of you voting no? Obviously, you all know, all 21 of them, all know that, excuse me, something has to be done about the county budget. Okay? So again, those that are going to vote no, I personally, for one, would like to know what is your alternative? What do you suggest be done? Finally, I'd like to say I am full support of the property tax increase. And as I said, Budget Committee last night, I don't like it, but I'll pay it.
Your time's up.
Okay.
Thank you,
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes. Sorry about that. Come on up. Give us your name, please, and where you live.
Jim Hinkle, District 10. Mr. Chairman, if I may, can I make a comment to the mayor?
Yeah, don't
real
call
quick?
me mayor.
I'm sorry, sir. You know, Mayor Mitchell.
He doesn't look as good as I do. Go ahead.
Mayor Mitchell has been very effective in these cost-cutting efforts, and believe me, in his tenure as mayor. But I think he carried it a little too far last night by turning off the air conditioning in here. I stand before you tonight as a 73-year-old retiree, and you're probably wondering why I even stand up here and support something that will require raising our property taxes and possibly a wheel tax. In the approximately 10 years I've been attending these meetings, I've done a lot of checking, getting statistics and so forth. I know Blount County is the 11th largest county in the state. I know that our median household income is $44,700. And I know as far as our property tax rate, right now, based on 215, there's 59 other counties that has a higher property tax rate than we do in Blount County. There's 2 counties that are tied with us. If we raise the taxes to what was discussed here last night at the Budget Committee meeting, there will still be 39 counties with a higher property tax rate than we have here in Blount County. Now, I don't know about you, but in my opinion, I think we've become somewhat spoiled. We have a champagne appetite with the beer budget. And I don't see how we can expect our office holders, the sheriff's department, the schools, etc., to continue down that road unless we do make some improvements in the source of income that we have to pay these people. I know the Sheriff's Department is having one heck of a time maintaining and keeping people, qualified people. They train them. And if we don't do something this year, I would recommend to this commission that we change the name from the Blount County Sheriff's Department to the Blount County Training Academy, because that's basically what it's being used as. We train people, and then 5 or 6 years of experience, they're gone somewhere else. In my work experience, I had an old man that was our general president, and in tough times when he had to pass something that was controversial, well, he had this thing about his mom. And his mom made him take a dose of castor oil every month. And his thing was, her to him, you may not like it, but it's good for you. And I really believe that the most of your constituents would understand why we need a property tax increase in order to support our county employees, the backbone of this county. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda committee minutes from April the 7th. Chair will entertain a motion. Move approval, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Moon, is there a second? Commissioner Farmer, are there additions or corrections to the agenda committee minutes from April 7th? The board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
Yeah, 21 yeses.
21 yes, that item is approved. Next item on the agenda are items for the consent calendar. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look over those items. The chair will entertain a motion to move the items of the consent calendar to the May Commission meeting. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Carver, discussion.
One clarification.
Yes, sir.
Are there any items under E4 appointments? They're listed here as appointments, but are there
The
any
chair
kind
shows no items on appointments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Board is clear. If you are in favor of moving these items to the consent calendar, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. Commissioner Daly, please. Need to confirm. There we go. That item 21 yes, that item is approved. Under unfinished business, resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee, section 7-18.18, regulating campgrounds or RV parks by clarifying and specifying the following: responsibility for required improvements for a deceleration lane, mandatory compliance with noise laws, application of non-conforming grandfather provisions of state statutes, and zoning regulation and limits of stay in campgrounds or RV parks. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes, sir.
move F1, 2, and 3 forward to the full commission. I made the motion to postpone that item in the previous meeting.
Commissioner Moon moves 1, 2, and 3. Is there a second? Commissioner French, now is there discussion? I'm sorry, Commissioner Crowe. Hang on. Well, I'll turn it on. I'm trying to, and it won't go.
I may be ringing in too early here, but I want to make sure that I get the opportunity to amend F1.
F1, if you'd like to make an amendment to Commissioner Moon's motion to send it forward.
I believe I'm premature. I guess we
Yes,
need to
you
get
need
it
to do
there and
that.
then make my amendment.
On the floor.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else? The board is clear. If you're in favor of moving these 3 items to the agenda, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
We're not amending it. This is going forward.
This is moving to the agenda. Remember, all we're doing is moving to the agenda. Okay.
Have 21 years.
Those items move to the agenda. At that point, Commissioner Crowe, you'll have your opportunity. Under new business budget transfers, I show there are none. Is that correct, Mr. Vineyard? And now budget increases. I'm showing 4 increases. Chair will entertain a motion. Let me catch up to myself here, wherever they are. There we go. On the first one, General County, $9,000. Chair will entertain a motion to move it forward. Commissioner Carver, is there a second? Commissioner Lewis, discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
Have 21 years.
That item moves forward. The next item, 131 Fund Highway, in the amount of $83,375.62. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Farmer, is there a second? Where was that? Commissioner Carter. Discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
Have 21 years.
That item is approved or moves forward. Next item, 141 General School, $259,048. Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Caskey, is there a second? Second. Commissioner French. Discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. Do what? Oh, I'm sorry. There wasn't anything on the board. Please hold your votes. And I still don't have anything on the board. John, is the computer working correctly at this point?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Could Mr. Vineyard or someone from the schools explain why we need to do this? Is this standard procedure? Why was the fund so deficient?
Someone here from schools or Mr. Vineyard, can you respond to that? We're trying to get the system straight here.
Mr. Staggs will address that since it's
Okay.
workers' comp related.
Turn on the public mic. Hang on just a second, Don. We're trying to get it straightened out. Okay, go ahead.
That was in the workers' comp when we were on the audit with the county audit. Our IB&R, we moved to the actuarial IB&R, so there was a difference in the IB&R. Pretty much what they're saying is we're ensuring that the workers' comp fund doesn't get into the shape that the health fund is. But in doing that, we had to do some surplus charges to make sure that it was a healthy fund.
Okay, so did you underestimate by that much? Or the schools, not you personally, but I mean,
there was no underestimating. What we changed was what we were using as a formula for the IB&R to ensure that we didn't run into any complications with the workers' comp like we have the health fund.
so your old funding wasn't working?
IB&R, which is incurred but not reported, is an estimate that we use for claims that we don't know about. It's claims that incurred but not reported. It's also what insurance uses for the big claim that's out there. We know there's a big claim out there. We don't know when, we don't know where, but just data shows that employer or government our size, there's a big claim waiting to happen. So if we ever have sufficient funds to cover that claim, we develop that through an IB&R, which is a process that is done. We were using one from our TPA. We switched to an actual actuarial that we hired to come in and do that process for us. The difference we had to report to the state. So the difference in shoring up those two numbers showed a deficit. It wasn't a true deficit, it was a deficit between the two numbers. This balances everything.
So you're saying that that was based on claims that you didn't know existed? So did they come in higher than what you?
No, we're using a different calculation to ensure that we have sufficient funds to meet all the claims that we're going to occur going forward. It's just not a pass-through. Like we operate like an insurance company. Like an insurance company is going to take in more money because they may have a significant event that happens and they have to pay out large claims. So they have to have sufficient funds that they can pay those claims in the future. They can't predict hailstorms. They can't predict things. Same thing. We can't predict what's going to happen. But we know from past experience, just any county our size, any organization our size, more than likely we're going to have a big claim out there. So it would not be in doing the right thing to make sure that we're financially sound, we provide funding for that claim if it happens.
Okay. Does this just include things like injuries, or does this have anything to do with lawsuits as well?
This only has to do with employee injuries. This is workers' compensation. We have another fund, but
like disability
it's fine. We were already using that calculation.
Okay,
so.
Thank you.
Finance Director Vineyard.
For further clarification, the school board has chosen this method to pay for this rather than incurring it in next year's budget. They're choosing to designate fund balance to pay for it.
Commissioner Caskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we know what the fund balance is for the workers' comp fund right now?
I don't know. Did you want to respond?
I don't know right now.
Okay. Commissioner, is that all, Commissioner Caskey?
Yes, thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the subject of fund balance, I did ask the director of schools yesterday that this transaction, would it bring anywhere close to the statutory minimum on the school board, school budget fund balance? And he said no, they would be still well funded. I just wanted to offer that as a point of information.
Thank you. The board is clear. Anyone else? We have canceled the original vote on this when we missed the first commissioner's question, so we'll vote again. If you are in favor of moving this item forward, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no.
You have 21 yeses.
21 yes, the item moves forward. The next item is 151 debt service for $28,985,652.92. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Moon, is there a second? Commissioner Lewis. Discussion. Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Mr. Vineyard, please.
Mr. Vineyard.
What was the actual swap termination fee?
A little over $7 million, including accrued interest.
Okay. So
It would approximate that line called other debt service, $6.8 million. That's the taxable piece of financing.
And then the rest of it's the fees associated?
Yes, there are two financings. There was a tax-exempt piece, 2015A, and our taxable piece was 2015A. Tax-exempt piece was a 2015B series. The taxable piece took care of the termination fee, and that was at a higher interest rate, obviously, since it was taxable. The tax-exempt piece took out the variable rate financed piece. And this transaction is so that all the activities related to the taxable and the tax-exempt piece hit our budget. Traditionally, that's been done through the audit process, but now the Comptroller's Office wants us to book all the activity through the budget itself. So this merely puts everything through the budget.
Okay, thank you. What was the actual rate at the time, and then when it was negotiated, how much did we save in the negotiations process? Because these were negotiable. The swap termination fees are negotiable. How much did we actually save when they went to the table?
You didn't save anything. It was a market rate established by our negotiator and the negotiator for the Deutsche Bank.
So they didn't save anything?
It's based on market.
They didn't get it a reduced rate at,
No.
at all?
No.
None?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Board is clear. Anyone else? If you're in favor of moving this item, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. That item moves forward. Under other budget items, I'm instructed that, Mr. Vineyard, you have other budget items?
Yes, sir. I've included in your packet a memo under G3 that kind of gives you some discussion of what occurred last night, and then you have two items in your packet that we're requesting action on. And the first is a tax rate in excess of the certified tax rate. This is a process outlined under state law for any county that's going through a reappraisal process. The preliminary tax rate that has been provided at this point by the assessor's office is 2.1177. It is not certified, it is preliminary. If this body was to adopt a tax rate, you would adopt and do nothing else beyond what we have right now, you would round it up to 2.12. Technically, under the law, that constitutes an increase, so you would be expected to adopt a tax rate of 2.12. Obviously, the Budget Committee has recommended something greater than that, but under the law, we have to declare what the tax rate to be certified is, and that's $2.1177. And that's item G3A. I don't know if you want me to explain all this or just handle them one at a time.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we send 3GA forward for commission.
We have a motion by Commissioner Moon to move that item forward. Is there a second? Commissioner French. Questions, further discussion? Commissioner Monroe.
Are we actually sending the tax rate forward, or are we sending public? No, what are we moving for? What is this doing?
Commissioner Moon, let me get your mic on here. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you look in section 1, it's actually it's announcing the intent of the governing body to propose a tax rate, to levy a tax rate in excess of the certified rate. That's and by law under section 67.51701, that's one of the requirements. There's also a publication requirement, which I'm sure Mr. Vineyard's going to take care of, that sets forth the budget and the tax levy rate. I hope that's answered.
So this isn't actually the tax rate, this is just a notice of intent?
That's correct.
Okay.
Board is clear. Commissioner Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's also important, we heard as part of the Budget Committee that just due to the restructuring of the debt, this intent needs to be put through just on that merit alone.
Thank you, sir. Board is clear. Anyone else? It's been motioned and seconded to move this forward to the agenda. If you're in favor, please vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Commissioner Lewis, can you confirm?
20 yeses and 1 no.
That item moves forward to the agenda. Mr. Vineyard, do you have something else?
Yes, the next item that I attempt to explain in my memo is that based on the Budget Committee's recommendation to this body, they adopted a tax rate resolution that you're not to act on tonight, but it is in your packet for your consideration at the June meeting. Prior to considering that, there will be a publication notice in the Daily Times on May 22. That starts the public process, so we are declaring what the intent of the commission is, at least the Budget Committee's intent is, and that will meet all the statutory requirements for notice, including the intent to adopt a tax rate in excess of the certified rate. It will also lay out the total appropriations and all the statutory requirements. As part of that tax rate resolution, the Budget Committee adopted a provision that suggests to this body that you consider a wheel tax, and should you successfully vote for a wheel tax over the next 2 meetings, then the property tax rate that they have forwarded to you could be reduced by up to 22 cents. All the material related to a wheel tax resolution is incorporated in G3B item. It includes the detail and the research that we have done and presented to the Budget Committee, and we've included that in your packet. So that's item G3B.
This item needs to be moved to the agenda then?
That is the request of the Budget Committee.
Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Second. Commissioner Melton, discussion. Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This should be a non-starter. The people have repeatedly rejected a wheel tax, and the Budget Committee seems determined to shove it down their throats regardless of what the people want. The people of the county only adopted the sales tax increase after the cities shoved it on them. They were against that as well. We're not listening to the people. And we turn around, and it's incredulous that we're even considering this. The first time around, it started out at $10 and was rejected. Then it became $30 and was rejected. Now it's up to $50. There seems to be no limit. If this goes through, what's it going to be 5 years from now? We should listen to the people. They have repeatedly rejected it, and not browbeat them and cram it down their throats. Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While the people have, I know the people have rejected this proposal several times, and I know that the county's in dire financial straits. We need to figure out a way to pay our bills. However, that being said, if this passes, I would like to put an amendment in there for a sunset clause for so many years, and however many years it's deemed that it's going to take to, maybe get things straight. I don't know. I don't know what that number of years here. I would expect the accounting office to maybe come up with some kind of amount of time. I'm saying this, if this passes, I think we need to put a sunset clause in there, and I think also we need to put a clause in there that it will not go over the set amount of $50 for that amount of time.
The board is clear. Anyone else have a comment? You're voting to move this to the agenda or not. The board is clear. If you're in favor of moving this item to the agenda, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 10 yeses, 9 noes, and 2 abstain.
Item fails to move to the agenda. Any further, Mr. Vineyard?
Yes. Item C are the two resolutions in there, C and D, that will start the budget process that I alluded to earlier. For those who had staying power to endure the heat we had last night. The committee asked that we include all the appropriations based on the spreadsheets that we have that we've been working off of throughout the budget process and all of our workshops. We have done that, and those are embedded in the item D. And last night, I made a miscalculation on the $7 million and added it twice, so that's been corrected and reduced in the general fund, so it reflects all the worksheets that everyone's been working off of and that we've had posted to our website. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
And that's for information only, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. We'll move on with the agenda to item G4, resolution authorizing submission of application for litter and trash grant collection for the state of Tennessee Department of Transportation, and authorizing the acceptance of the grant. Chair will entertain a motion to move it forward.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Farmer, is there a second? Commissioner Hedrick. Discussion, Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In contracting or applying for this grant, would it be 100% state funded, or are we giving the mayor authority to go out and then obligate the county?
Commissioner Vineyard, I'm sorry, I just promoted you or demoted you. Can you answer that?
It is 100% state funded. This is something we receive in the 3 years I've been here, we've been getting it, and it predates me even.
Okay. Thank you.
Board is clear. If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 21 yeses.
The item moves forward. Item number 5, a resolution to implement the recommended classification compensation system by Evergreen Solutions. The chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Second. Commissioner Hedrick. Now, is there a discussion? Commissioner Monroe, you were first up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Does anyone have an actual copy of this study? I asked
can't
the
answer
HR director for a copy, and she told me she didn't have it. So does anyone actually have a copy of this study?
Commissioner, let's see. Commissioner Lewis, you're listed as sponsor. Can you respond to that?
The study that I saw was in the accounting office. I don't know if we have that here tonight, Randy, or not.
Mr. Vineyard, or Mr. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you come forward, please? Our HR director. Can you answer the question for us?
Sure. The complete study I do not have a copy of because Evergreen is not finalized with all of our job descriptions, and they will not send me the final official study until they get everything completed and wrapped up. So they're still working on all of our job descriptions, and that's why we don't have the final study. Now, we have been scheduling meetings with giving each of you the opportunity to come in and meet with myself and Mr. Vineyard to discuss the Evergreen and actually look at the information. Several of you have already done that. I know Amy's been working on setting those meetings up with you, so you will have your opportunity to definitely take a look at the compensation piece of the study results.
Okay, thank you. In light of her statement, we're being asked to make public policy on a study that we do not have. So I move to postpone this to the August agenda meeting so that we'll have time to get this study and review it.
We have a motion to postpone. I have a second over here. Second was Ms. Miller. I've got 3 people on the board. Can I go ahead and let them speak to this? Or is this to the, to postpone? Is this to the postpone? I need to ask. Commissioner Daly, is this to postpone? Okay, go ahead, please. On the motion to postpone. Go ahead.
Okay, it's already been first and second.
Yes.
Okay. I agree with what Commissioner Monroe said. We need this in our hands to look at. I'm sure there are some people in this county that need a pay raise. I'm sure there's some that don't. And I noticed the only thing I have is what we're compared to, and the only county is Knox County, so I really can't make any statements about it because I haven't read it. Thanks.
Commissioner Crowe, is this on the motion to postpone? Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I know we have a pay problem when we have 20 deputies leaving. That's very clear. But again, I only saw about 6 or 8 pages of this study, and for me to vote it through scares me. But again, I know it's undisputable that we got to make some corrections.
Is that all, sir? Commissioner French, is this on the motion to postpone? Go ahead, sir.
Is the motion to postpone because we don't have all the job titles? Or my understanding is that we have what the compensation's going to be, the price of the compensation, but we just don't have the job titles. Is that the only reason we're postponing? I
can't answer that, sir. Commissioner Monroe, would you like to respond? Or, okay, come forward, Ms. Jenny. Hold, let me get the mic on.
I don't know as to the reason why they want to postpone, but what I can tell you that we have is we do have all of the salary pieces back. So the salary part of the study is complete. You have to keep in mind that with this compensation, it's also a classification study. So there's more parts to it than just the salary component, which is probably the one that you're more concerned about, but there's a lot of pieces that in the HR department that are included in this survey there and study that we could use that may not be familiar to you, and those are listed in the resolution that you have. Job classifications, knowing whether or not our positions are exempt or non-exempt to make sure that we're paying our people appropriately when it comes to overtime. Pay grades and pay ranges, getting the structure in place so that if the commission decides to fund the recommendation from Evergreen and the budget committee, then I can actually administer those increases the way that they're appropriately meant to be done. Performance evaluations are included. Not every department does performance evaluations across the county, and that's lacking, and we need to do that. So we're going to have a performance evaluation form that will roll out across the county to make sure that our people are performing at the levels that they need to be performing to then justify giving them the increases. The job descriptions, which I talked about, we're waiting to get those back. We're going to have a job description template moving forward. All of our job descriptions will have a consistent look to them across the county. And then there's going to be an appeals process for employees as well that'll come out of this. So there's a lot more pieces to the puzzle than just the compensation piece. And what I'm asking for with this resolution is not to fund it. I'm asking for this body to give us the structure that we need should you decide to fund it via the recommendation from the budget committee, that I'll be able to do so, because there's more pieces to it than just that. I need to be able to operate the HR department effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. We are still on the motion to postpone. Commissioner Caskey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are there any budget consequences in delaying it to August?
Mr. Vineyard, would you like to respond to that?
If you were to postpone to August and next month approve the budget committee's recommendation, we wouldn't be able to implement the budget committee's recommendation. If you approve this resolution, you are not obligated to fund it. Now, I hate to say that, but that's the truth. what Ms. Morgan has told you is we need the structure to manage in a consistent way our human resources in Blount County.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yeah, and Randy has pretty much said what I was going to say. The funding piece of this resolution is separate from this resolution itself. This is a structure that puts into place what we don't have today. With pay grades, pay ranges, job classifications, performance evaluations, and job descriptions. So none of that has anything to do with the actual funding of the system itself. The request is simply to be able to put this structure in place so that we do have a system that we can monitor and track. The funding piece will come from the Budget Committee as a recommendation or not, but it doesn't affect that this structure still needs to be in place regardless of the funding level that we decide to put into it. It gives us a place to start in a job classification system that is lacking at this point with the county. It's two separate pieces. Thank you.
Commissioner Akerd?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I told the folks in the meeting when this plan was discussed a little bit with me earlier this week, I'm all for us having some structure for our positions throughout the county. I like the idea of that, but sort of like the Obamacare Affordable Care Act, I'm not real happy with passing it so I can see it. I would really like to have the opportunity to see the entire report before we take any action to call it ours, and like the idea of postponing it until such time as we can actually see it. There's a lot of good things that they've presented to me in the meeting along the same lines of what I would want to do in my own business. But without seeing the entire report and knowing that I argue adamantly against the way that the numbers were come up with, considering we're not comparing peers at all, we're comparing municipalities rather than counties. I know that the report is flawed, so I do like the idea of us having the opportunity to see it before we act on it, and would hope that you folks would seriously consider the motion to postpone. Thank you.
I have 4 people on the board. Of those 4, only Commissioner Cole has not yet spoken, so you'll be next, Mr. Cole.
Yes, I don't know if it's so much as a question as a comment, but I'm kind of puzzled how we're able to come up with the budgetary numbers without a classification system. How do we know what we're comparing to without that system? So I don't know if somebody wants to respond to it or not, but.
Mr. Vineyard, do you want to respond? I'll get it. Go ahead.
Well, we have some classifications now. This makes sure that we have classifications across the system, across all county departments with the exception of education and highway. The other thing to the motion to postpone, right now we're scheduled to implement the HR portion of Chronos in July or June, and we want to use the classifications for our employees in that system when we roll it out. So the potential is there with a postponement to cause us to be delayed in implementation of Chronos, which has potential financial consequences of paying Chronos for doing nothing on the consulting, on the HR piece.
Commissioner Daly?
This sounds very familiar. Again, we're asked to rush and then vote on something that we haven't got to study. And I know in statistics, figures can be messed around and fooled with, and you can try to prove anything you want to. But this just looks like apples to oranges to me. The only county is Knox County, and I don't quite understand what we have, why we have Oak Ridge National Laboratory on here. So I just have too many questions. Thank you.
Remember, we are discussing the motion to postpone. Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We just heard that we have some classifications in place now. Part of the job responsibilities of these elected officials with their departments is to manage their employees. And I would hope that they're doing that now. I would sure think they are. There's no reason to rush this other than we were just told Chronos. That's the only reason we've been given. But we don't need to vote for something and then find out what's in it later, like Nancy Pelosi. If you look at this for the compensation portion, they collected information on the city of Alcoa, the city of Maryville, and Knox County schools, and they didn't even collect the data for Blount County schools. Does that make any sense? Why would we approve something like that knowing that we see big problems in what little bit we have been given? So part of their job, I would think that the elected office holders are already doing their job.
Point of order. Yes, sir.
This has nothing to do with the motion to postpone.
Okay.
Yes, it does, because I was talking about why in the world we needed to postpone.
Chairman, you need to do on point of order before we go on.
Point of order is correct, and Commissioner French.
If we postpone, are we guaranteed that we'll have the report by the August meeting?
Ms. Morgan, do you want to respond to that, please?
I would have to check with Evergreen. I mean, I would hope by August they would have all of the job descriptions done, but when you look at the number of jobs that they're working on, I mean, it's over 200, so I'd have to check with them.
Commissioner French, you still
Postpone, and if the report doesn't come in, then we're going to have to postpone another month, and if it doesn't come in, we'll have to postpone another month, and according to Mr. Vineyard, that's going to cost us money in the long run.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Commissioner Lewis.
One question, Jenny, this could be for you or for Randy, either one. Let's really be clear about what information that what will we have in August that we don't have right now? Or
job descriptions.
whenever that is. So it's simply job descriptions.
And then the final complete report. And so, I mean, Evergreen doesn't want to send me bits and pieces. So we've got, as far as the entire, they call it chapters. So the entire report will come in these chapters. And we have the spreadsheet that contains the salary increases, which has been, given to the budget committee, and we're reviewing with each of you as you have your appointed time. We have the job classifications. We have the pay grades. We have the pay ranges. I have performance evaluation forms. I'm waiting on the job descriptions.
So simply, the only thing we don't have at this point in time is job descriptions.
Correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner French, did you want to talk to Ms. Morgan?
Just clarify one thing. What do you mean by job description? Is it just a name of a position, like a secretary would be maybe an assistant secretary? Are you just changing names? Is that all?
No, job titles would be what you've just mentioned. A job description lists the duties of each of the positions that we have and tells what is required in order to do the job. Do you need a certain amount of education, those types of things.
Commissioner Aker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what else might be included in the remainder of the report beyond those job descriptions?
I mean, they would just put it together in it would just be final and include everything. So now they've sent me individual pieces. They would just put it all together and send it as one final document.
Would that include raw data for us to see what they were basing things on rather than just listing these names?
I am not sure. I would have to ask them if they'll provide us with that.
It's wow. It's an awfully good item to postpone, so much not being known about it. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Daly on the motion to postpone.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask?
Ms. Morgan?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Why wasn't all of this put in our packet? If you have it. I mean, there's nothing in our packet.
I can include that. I can make sure you have we haven't settled on a performance review specific form. I'm going through those pieces now. So the thing that we have that's final is the salary piece, which has been sent to the budget committee. I just have to decide on the format of the form for the performance review form, but I can provide all of that information.
Thanks.
Commissioner Monroe. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a simple comment. You just let multiple people ask questions that were along the same vein as what I was asking when you cut me off. Thank you.
I was under the impression they were asking whether or not they were going to vote for a postponement. Thank you, Ms. Morgan.
Thank you.
The board is clear. This is on the motion. I'm sorry, Commissioner Stinnett.
Thank you, Chairman. Guys, I understand those arguments, but if Mrs. Morgan can put that material together and get it to us before next Thursday, this is too important for us to bypass right now. We need to look at this information and try to think about it between now and next Thursday. All we're doing here tonight is putting it onto the agenda so we can talk about it next week. That means we still have, about 8 more days that we could possibly clear some of these questions up. This is a great opportunity for some of our employees, and if we don't do this, what's it going to cost us down the road next year? Because it looks like to me, if we postpone this, this will not happen, and we'll lose 20 more policemen to agencies adjacent to us because they pay more. If we can find this information, if we can get this information together so we can look at it, maybe we can clear some of these questions up before next week. Thank you, sir.
The board is clear. This is on the motion to postpone. If you are in favor of postponement until August, you will vote yes. If you are opposed to the postponement, vote no. Please vote.
You have 4 yeses and 16 noes and 1 abstention.
The motion to postpone fails. We are on the original motion to move the item G5 to the agenda, and the board is clear. If you are in favor of moving it to the agenda, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 16 yeses, 4 noes, and 1 abstention.
That item moves to the agenda. The next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing an agreement between Blount County and Bell South Telecommunications, LLC, at 111 Main Road, Maryville, pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated 6521-201. Chair will entertain a motion. Yes, sir. Commissioner Moon moves it to the full commission. Is there a second? What was that? Commissioner Kaler. Discussion. The board is clear. Please vote yes if you are in favor of moving it. Vote no if you are against. Losing my voice here.
You have 21 yeses.
That item is approved, and I've lost the second page of my agenda. There we go. This will work. That's too easy. Let's see here. Item number 7, resolution to amend the zoning map of Blount County from R1 Rural District RS Rural Arterial Commercial for property located at 110-112 North Springview Road at the corner of U.S. Highway 411 South and North Springview. Identified tax map 089, parcel 109. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Commissioner Bowers, second. Commissioner Carver. Any discussion? Board is clear. If you're in favor, please vote. I'm sorry. Did a line? Okay, Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Mr. Fields, if I could.
Mr. Fields, are you here? Yeah, here you are.
Is there anything on the law now?
Go ahead, sir.
Roger, is there anything on the lots now? I mean, what are on the lots?
Well, there's what was a house, and I suppose if this is approved, it'll be used for office space, and there's a metal building.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fields. Any other questions, comments? If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 20 yeses and 1 no.
That item moves forward. Next item on the agenda is to set a public hearing regarding a resolution to amend zoning resolution of Blount County by adding a new rural arterial commercial 2, District 2.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I move that forward to the full commission setting at 6 p.m. on the June agenda committee evening.
6 p.m. June agenda committee evening. Is the motion? Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Hedrick. Any discussion? If you're in favor, vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 19 yeses and 2 noes.
That item moves forward. Next item on the agenda, item 9, a resolution to award agreement that extends beyond the end of the current fiscal year for emergency medical services for Blount County. Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Kaler, second. Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Commissioner Monroe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The feedback from people in my district overall with Rural Metro has been pretty good. There have been a few people that aren't happy, but overall they are happy. It has been brought to my attention, though, that Rural Metro outsources some of their coding offshore. I was given a letter that said that less than 10% of that was done in offshore, and it was done in the Philippines on a military base. But I did a quick Google search and found that Lexicode is all around. They had jobs in the the Arab Emirate and around the globe. The economy is not so hot. And so I would like to know if we could amend this so that the coding is all done in the United States of America. American jobs, I don't know much about Team Health, but we have Team Health coming to town. Could we, I don't know whether Team Health is the solution, but we've got some jobs here locally. So I'm not so sure that we want to send those jobs potentially overseas. And so I'm wondering if we could have 100% U.S.-based labor requirement in our contract.
I don't know the answer to that, Commissioner.
I was told by Rural Metro that they could, but that it wouldn't be practical.
Commissioner Kaler would like to respond.
With the anticipation of questions, we have numerous people in our audience tonight that I feel confident would be glad to address that, Commissioner, if we could yield the floor to these representatives, please.
Would you come forward, please, and identify yourself?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm Mark Lashley. I'm the Division President for Rural Metro from the East, and I'm the one who responded back to you in the letter. Just a clarification, we spend $20 to $25 million a year on our billing process. That has been outsourced by our company this past year. It was a good move for us to do. It was part of our restructuring plan, which we may speak a little bit more about soon. But it's been a good move for the company. It increased the quality of our coding significantly. We have certified nurses that do that now. We don't, as a company, mandate how our partners, RevMD is one, Lexicode is another. Lexicode specifically, the folks that are doing the billing for us, we don't mandate to them how they do that. Is it possible to go back to them? I think it may be possible, but essentially that would require us to reorganize how we've done the $25 million, the 500 employees that are doing the coding and the billing for us. It's possible, but it's very impractical for us to do so at this point, and creates significant inefficiencies in our current process.
Any further, Commissioner?
Is there a time frame that this could be achieved in if we didn't do it right away? Could there be a time frame that you would renegotiate that with Lexicode?
I don't think at this point we would have any intention of doing that. I think that it's in the company's best interest and for the quality of coding and the quality of billing to continue to do the process that way. I think we'll continue to evaluate opportunities to become more efficient, and I think if that presents itself as an opportunity to be a more efficient organization and increase the quality, we will certainly entertain that.
Do you do any of your own coding?
Not at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The board is clear. Commissioner, I'm sorry, is that you, Mr. Vineyard? You wish to speak? Go ahead.
I think before you act on the comment, you ought to hear from Mr. Salians, who's responsible for the procurement process, before you act.
If anyone has a question of Mr. Stallions, I'll certainly call him up. Commissioner French, let me get your mic on. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a matter of fact, I have several questions for Mr. Stallions.
Okay, come forward, Mr. Stallions. Can you come up?
And please bear with me. I was up till 3:30 this morning and got back up at 6:30 this morning looking over these RFPs. I had several questions. First of all, I want to predicate what my questions with a comment. And I made you aware of this, and I made the mayor aware of it. I was not happy with the process. I made the proponents, the proposers, I made them aware of it. I was not happy with the process that we went through. I felt like we should have had more people that were familiar with the EMS response process involved with the panel that interviewed these proposers. While I have the utmost respect for the people that were the people that I know that were on that panel, I've got the utmost respect for them, and I think they're probably some of the best people we've got working for Blount County. I feel like we should have had a little more expertise in the selection process. That being said, I have several questions about the contract itself. And those are in section 302, page 8. level 1 criteria, item 3, I feel like lost reports shouldn't happen under any circumstance, me personally. I understand there are some things that can't be helped, but a lost report is, I think, not acceptable.
Could you give me that again, Commissioner? I'm sorry, I'm behind you here.
Section 302, page 8.
Okay.
Item 3, under level 1. Level 1, item 3.
Can you give a,
Yeah.
okay. Everybody get that? Say it again, where it's located. 175 on the computer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. Section 406, response times. Folks, I live in District 9, far reaches of the county. Blount County, Sevier County, Knox County come together. I've been involved with this commission since 1998. The biggest complaint I've had from my constituents is response times. Man, where are the ambulances? Where are the ambulances? I wasn't even on the commission from 2002 to 2006, and I still heard about response times from the ambulances. What about, I understand the 90%, what about the remaining 10%? If we go to the figures that were provided in the contract, I think there were 12,162 responses in 2014. Let's just divide that by 10 because we've got 10 districts. That's 1,216 responses. Well, guess what? 10% of that, 12,162, is 1,216 responses. So if they miss those responses 10% of the time, they could all be in my district and still meet the requirements. So how is that going to help the people in my district with their ambulance problems? I'm still going to hear complaints. Now, I know that's far-fetched, that all 10% of them will come from one district. But I feel like there ought to be some kind of requirements made for that 10%. In other words, perhaps 15 minutes for 95% of them, 20 minutes for 99% of them. I'm just saying there needs to be some kind of requirements for the remaining 10%, and they should not all have to come from one district. And most, let's be realistic, the outlying districts are the ones that are going to probably see the 10% response times not adhered to. Let's go to section 406, page 12. Item C5. Let me move to a different. That's for the contract that was proposed. I'll come back to that later. Section 704, page 16, A and B. In my district, again, the complaint has not been against the fire departments and the first responders. The first responders are generally there within 5 to 7 minutes of a call. I can't understand why, if the fire departments have been doing it for 20 years, I mean, they're there within 5 to 7 minutes. I don't understand why this allows the ambulance service, whoever it is, an extra 5 minutes to respond. My complaints haven't been against the fire departments. They've been there. The complaints have been against the time it takes the ambulance to get there. So why are you giving them 5 more minutes to respond? I just didn't understand why that additional 5 minutes was in there. Okay, section 801B, page 18. And I had to read this about 3 times to try to make sense out of it. And this is a compliance, written notice for compliance of response time. Written notice within 30 days after discovery of the infraction shall be given to the contractor by the county once the infraction is discovered. Now, once the contractor receives that, the contractor is given 60 days to respond, to correct it, or he can respond with a written plan and schedule for remediation. And if it's approved by the county in writing, how much time does he get from that 60-day written plan? How much time does he get after that? So we've already given him 90 days to remediate the situation. How much time does he get in writing to remedy the situation? There's nothing there that states anything. I just think that's a loophole in the contract. So you've already given him 90 days. I don't know how much time you're talking about. Now I want to go back to those are just questions I had on just the contract, not who submitted or anything. I've read both the proposals also from the 2 services. First of all, let me state this. We still haven't seen any financial reports from either one of them. To me, without looking at financial reports, it's hard to make a decision.
We saw the 13 reports, Commissioner.
Current financial reports. AMR, they had a current financial report. We haven't seen a current financial report from the other 2 proposals. I understand 2013, we do have a report, but neither one have a current one for 2014.
We have not received the 2014.
Right.
They're here to address some of the 14, but
Okay.
we did look at financial reports.
Okay. Let's go back to the 2 proposals. And again, I've looked at both proposals. I like some of them. I like some of the comments in one proposal. I like some of the comments in the other. I don't like some of the comments in one, and I don't like some of the comments in the other. First of all, in section 402, I believe, is transport. I noticed in the contract that was the RFP that was let out that in section 402 transport, we were the proposers were asked to transport students from Blount County schools, the city of Maryville, and the city of Alcoa during school hours at no charge. They were also asked to transport indigent at no charge. They were also asked to transport employees of Blount County during work hours at no charge. And they were also asked to give a discount to employees' families of 50%. They were asked to do that after they go to the insurance companies and ask them for compensation. Then whatever's left, they were asked to give 50% discount to employees of the county. And I noticed one of the proposals agreed to that and one of them didn't.
Do you want me to respond now or wait? 'Cause I'm losing-
I mean,
the issue that we had, and even in some of the presentations, the issue was the Medicare issue, and also anti-kickback issue, which was raised. And so that's why we shied away from those when those issues were brought up, as well as, remember, we're tasked with negotiating contract. Negotiating contract occurred. We can't negotiate a contract here in front of commission. The state laws puts that in the purchasing department to negotiate a contract and bring it in front of y'all. So we started out with our list and we had to negotiate. All the companies that you see before you are for-profit businesses. We negotiated to the point with one company where they walked away from us. They left us because they didn't feel that there was anything on the table for them to make a profit.
Right.
So they walked away from us. So we feel that this contract, that we've got a pretty aggressive contract, we've got a strong contract, especially when you compare it to the existing contract in the county, the one that we're replacing. You can't hardly even compare it. I mean, we've got twice the number of ambulances. We go from one 24-hour post to 5, which addresses the issue that you had. And I had the same concern being an outlying area to make sure that they just didn't take care of the cities and either pay the fines for the outlying areas or that be the 10%. So if you see part of the bid also is where they're going to have 24-hour posting. We're going from 7 ambulances, and really the current contract is not really clear about how many ambulances we require. It can be taken, but in the most that you could take it is 7 ambulances. We're going from requiring 7 ambulances to 16 ambulances. So we're going from one 24-hour station to 5 24-hour stations. There's no response time requirements whatsoever in the existing contract. We're going to the 5 and 15 minutes. Now the 15 minutes, we've got to give them something. We can't drive them out of business. We already have one getting them walk off the table from us. So we feel strongly that the contract that we brought to you all tonight is a strong contract. It benefits the citizens, is much more of a citizen benefit contract than the contract that we had before. I understand there may have been things that you wanted in it. There may be things that we may have been wanting in it, but the fact is all these are for-profit businesses. And so it's a compromise. It's a negotiation. And we negotiate in good faith with the company. Now, I understand your concerns with your 14 financials, and we have some people here from Rural Metro that are willing to address those concerns. But as far as adding an amendment to it or changing, this isn't the purview with all due respect. The Purchasing Act of 57 is quite clear that falls within the purchasing department. We have delivered to you a contract to approve. The reason why we're bringing it to you to approve is it's because more than 1 year on the contract. It's a 2-year contract. It's y'all's decision to approve or not approve, but I can't sit here and change the contract. I'm very proud of the contract. I think especially if you compare to what we've had since I can remember last. I mean, I've got a list here that goes on and on. You know, right now it takes 2 phone calls in Blount County to get an ambulance. You got to call 911, then the 911 dispatcher picks up the phone, dials a 7-digit number, and calls the dispatch at Rural Metro. Under this new contract, they have to move into the 911 center so your dispatchers are sitting side by side. This is a strong contract, and I understand, and I respect you too. I mean, we've had conversations on this, but I think this, I'm proud of the process, and when I say I'm proud of the process, is I'm proud of the product that we've got. Is it a perfect 100%? No, and you know, if we want to have that, then we got to start talking about a county-owned ambulance service. But if we want to go with an ambulance service that is run by a for-profit corporation, we got to leave enough meat on the bone for the company to make a profit.
I guess my concern is this. You've just spent the last 5 minutes espousing one contract, comparing it to the former contract.
Correct.
That's not what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to compare proposals from 2 different contractors.
No.
We're being asked to vote on a contract, and that is best for Blount County. We've not been asked to compare this contract with the previous contract. That's not what we're here for.
I don't have.
While I understand what you said, both proposals that I've read are much far better than what we had in the past. I'm just want us to understand that we're voting for the best contract for Blount County, and I in particular am concerned for my district.
But understand, there's not two contracts. There's one contract.
No.
We provide you with the documentation in trying to provide, and I understand your concerns, but in trying to provide an open process, we in the RFP outlined exactly how we were going to do it. We were more formal maybe than with past, but it's the same way as any other bid or any other RFP that we do. We discussed it in-house. We asked people with more expertise in the area. This one we did it formally. We said what we were going to do, put in detail how we were going to score it, put that out, and then once it was done, we fed you all the information on how exactly we came to this contract. But the only reason why the contract is here is it's more than a one-year contract.
That's a 2-year contract.
Correct.
Right. I'm just concerned that we're getting, and again, I'm concerned we don't have financial statements. I just want this commission to know that if they've read these contracts, I want to make sure we get the best thing that's going for Blount County.
And I understand. And then I know in our conversation that's
and I wasn't happy
sincere.
with the process. I felt like it was too secretive. I felt like we needed a little bit more expertise on the selection panel. And that being said, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under Section 804, the end of contract, why is there reference in there to a study on the feasibility of a county-owned ambulance service?
Well, I can tell you, we will be undertaking a study to see if it's feasible for the county to run its own ambulance service.
Are we going to have the same people on that panel that we still don't know who is on that panel that's going to do this study?
No.
When are we going to know who was on that panel when they met?
Let me get this through first, and then we'll start worrying about the next step. We don't have a provider for after June. Let me get a provider for after June, then we'll start worrying about what's going to happen 2 to 3 years from now.
It doesn't make sense to have something that references a study about the feasibility of a county-owned ambulance service in a contract with a private ambulance service.
We want to be upfront with whoever got the contract that the county would be studying that, and there would be a possibility within 2 years the county could select to go out and do its own ambulance service. We thought that only fair up front. Again, these are for-profit companies. A lot there, if you can see, I mean, we're going from 7 ambulances to 16 ambulances. So there's going to be a huge capital expense that whatever company is coming in was going to have to invest. And we wanted to be up front with them and not try to pull one over on them.
I agree with Mr. French that I do not like the process, the way it was done. I'm not sure it followed the law the way that it was supposed to follow. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. French is next, but we have someone who has not spoken, Mr. Cole. Go ahead, sir.
I guess I just want to make a comment toward the Section 804 also. I was going to ask first why we're only doing a 2-year contract, but you answered that question. But I think since this is open discussion, before the county goes and spends a bunch of money and people's time on a feasibility study of this, we really need to take a hard look at this and see if anybody has an appetite for it, because so far I haven't found anybody that thinks that's a good idea.
It'll be an in-house. Let me make that clear. We're not going out and hiring some big company to come in and do a big study. It'll be in-house.
Oh, you further? Go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Just to follow up, but I still think we need to understand, is there really an appetite for it at all? Even if we study this in-house, obviously you're going to use resources to study this, and I haven't found one person yet that thinks it's a good idea.
Commissioner French?
Thank you, Commissioner. I did have a follow-up question for Rural Metro on your postings with sleeping quarters for 24-hour crews and/or future sleeping quarters. Do you have like a time frame as far as when you may have those sleeping quarters available? I know you're discussing with different entities as far as having sleeping quarters available, but do you have any idea as far as the time frame?
Please identify yourself.
I'm Jonathan Rogers. I'm the general manager for Rural Metro here in Blount County. There is no current time frame. I've been in dialogue with Seymour Volunteer Fire Department to they're rebuilding their station or remodeling their station that's in Blount County to see if we can attach with them. I've also been in dialogue with Blount County Fire Department out there at their Station 7. They have 2 acres out there. That would be in a capital investment again. So when this gets done and over with, that's when we would proceed heavily with that process.
And your Blount County ambulance postings, you've got 12 posted. Post number 10 is the Greenback Station. Is that actually in Blount County or is that in Loudoun County? The Highway 411 South at Highway 95.
Yeah, we have a station there.
Is that in Blount County or Loudoun County?
That's actually in Loudoun County, but it's for the Blount County side of Greenback.
I guess what I'm asking, is that station contracted with Loudoun County, or are they on contract with Loudoun County? Is that part of Loudoun County's?
No, they're not contracted with Loudoun
okay.
County. Yeah, just 2/3 of Greenback is Lenore is Loudoun County, and 1/3 is Blount County, and that's just the area so we can cover.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. The board is clear. I'm sorry, Commissioner Crowe, let me get your mic on. Go ahead, sir.
My question's for Mr. Stallion. I know this has been a real tough process, but I just want to go back and dot our I's and cross our T's. Are we solid in our RFP process?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Board is clear. Are you ready to vote?
No, I'd still like to hear the financial statement.
Oh, do you have a question? Go ahead, Mr. Crowe, if you have a question.
Well, I mean, most of the people I have talked to have been big rural metro supporters, but there's all this constituents checking and asking, and so it's kind of like the 2014 report has been stalled, and they brought people tonight to answer that question, and I think the public needs to hear the question answered before we vote.
And can I make one comment towards that?
Go ahead.
Also, and that's a very valid question, and the how financial secure any company that we pick is very important. That is one reason the current contract has no performance bond, the existing one. The contract you have before you, they'll have to submit $1 million performance bond. So in the event that, and it's for any company, was to go bankrupt, pull out, leave us where we had the expense would not fall on the county. We'd be able to use that bond. Also, there's language in this contract, which is not in the previous contract, but in this contract, to where if we terminate for good cause the contract, bankruptcy or pulling out, whatever, we also, for $10, we will pay them $10, and we will have use of all their equipment and their ambulances for 180 days until we can get another vendor in here. So we would have immediate use to equipment, and we would have funding that would not impact the county's funding at all to continue the continuity of coverage for the citizens. So, but that's anyone, that's not just direct to them, but that's in there.
Anyone else? Does anyone have a question or a comment? The board is clear. Are you ready to vote? Nope. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Crowe.
Mr. Stallion answered part of my question, but I still feel like that it's information pertinent before people vote that they need to know. I love his answer. I think it's awesome. He says the county is at very little risk, but I still think the people on this board need to know what they're voting for. Thank you. So,
is there someone at Rural Metro that would like to? Yes, and we need a specific question, please.
Okay.
Mr. Crowe.
I'm going to be as specific as I can be, okay?
Thank you, Chairman.
2014 December, did you all declare bankruptcy?
No, that's not correct. We went through a prearranged bankruptcy in August of 2013. By prearranged, it means that the majority of the lenders were in agreement with our plan before we entered into bankruptcy. We exited that process on December 31st of 2013.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any other question regarding the finances of the company? Thank you, Mr. Lashley. The board is clear.
Thank you.
This is a motion to send this to the full agenda, the contract that you have before you. It's been motioned and seconded. If you are in favor of sending it to the full agenda, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
Have 20 yeses and 1 no.
20 yes, 1 no. The item moves to the full agenda. Next item on the agenda, if I can find it somewhere, is resolution to approve the interlocal cooperation agreement between the 5th Judicial District Drug and Violent Crimes Task Force between Blount County, Maryville, and Alcoa. Chair will entertain a motion. Commissioner Carver, is there a second? Commissioner Allen, was that you? Okay. Commissioner Monroe? Whatever.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this the first time that we've had an interlocal agreement for this? Because it says that the granting authorities have indicated their desire and requirement for a written interlocal agreement.
I think we've had one for Jeff. How long? Can you answer that? I don't know exactly, but
from my understanding that this is a new requirement, that we actually do have to have a written agreement. We've had agreements in the past, but this is an agreement that from our county attorney and the state folks said that there needs to be a written local agreement between all three governments.
So we don't have a written agreement?
We have an agreement, but it's not been in an interlocal agreement per se. It's been an agreement on the board, if I'm recalling correctly, among the three agencies. This is an actual interlocal agreement. The 5th Judicial Task Force is made up of the District Attorney General and the three agencies involved. And there's been an agreement there, but I think there's a requirement now that there has to be a governmental agreement between all three of the agencies.
Actually voted by the three legislative bodies.
Yes, sir.
So you've never actually reduced it to writing before and had us vote on it?
Like I said, I don't think that it's ever been a requirement. I think this is a new requirement from the state. And we can get clarification from the attorney, but this is coming from my recollection. Chief Talbot would be better to answer that. He's not here tonight, but from what I can recall with conversations with Mr. Garrett and Chief Talbot, that's what this is coming out of.
Okay. Is this agreement written up such that you'll basically follow what you're doing now? Is this going to change?
No, it's not going to change anything.
So this is just this is business as usual?
Business as usual, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the board is clear. If you are in favor of this item moving forward, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. That item is approved. And under items and statements, if I can find, announcements and statements. You got a statement. Commissioner Farmer. Go ahead, sir.
If we're under items and statements, there was a...
Announcements and statements.
Well, announcements and statements.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There was a statement made a little earlier by Mr. Crow in reference to a rezoning. You make an amendment on the floor, that has to go back for a public hearing. I just want you to understand that. I heard that and I thought, well, I'm not waiting until the full commission meeting and then we get on the floor. But if we have a rezoning where we've had a public hearing and it comes to this point, if you then decide to amend it, it does have to go back.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's correct, Commissioner Farmer. I agree with you. Yeah, it won't go off. There you go. All right, the other announcement, commission meeting will be May 21st in this room at 7 p.m. And I believe there's the ad hoc committee on recycling is the 26th. Is that correct? Who's on that committee? Commissioner Bowers? Yeah. 26th. Do you have a time? Anybody have a time? Well, watch your email, I guess. It's online? Okay. That's the only announcement I have. Is there anyone that wishes to speak to an item now that was not on the agenda? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. And Commissioner Lewis, I'll come to you in just a second. Please introduce yourself and where you live.
Thank you. Billy Mincer, District 7, down on Gribble Road off Allegheny. I want to address the resolution that y'all passed that the mayor vetoed on EPA resolution. When I first heard about that, I thought, what is the commission doing? With all the business you have to take care of as exemplified tonight, a lot of tough problems to solve, why would you be going after a federal agency over which we have no jurisdiction when we have all this other business to take care of? The resolution is, and I read it, is directed to our legislative, to be directed to our legislative delegation to Congress and to the highest level of government, including the President of the United States. And I think it'll do little more than direct a spotlight on us that we're trying to address things that are inappropriate and it's irrational. And to me, it's an embarrassment that our county commission was trying to interject itself into federal government. The resolution accused EPA of violating the 9th and 10th Amendment of the Constitution. And thinking about it, I said, wait a minute, I don't know anything about the 9th and 10th Amendment of the Constitution. I better go back and do a fact check. An educator in science, you need to have the facts before you make an assessment. Maybe you're onto something that's right. So I spent several hours looking at the 9th and 10th Amendment of the Constitution and also to the mission of the EPA. A little background, y'all know this, I'm sure the EPA was formed in the 70s after about 100 years of pollution of our air and water, and National Environmental Protection Act was passed, including the creation of EPA to control pollution that had been for the last 100 years poisoning our air and our rivers. And so the EPA's mission is to protect our public health so we don't get sick from those pollutants in our waterways. This resolution that y'all passed was directed at stormwater pollution. When stormwater washes off of industries and parking lots and ends up in our rivers and streams and gets pumped back into our water system that we drink. So especially stormwater is within the mission of EPA. Now, of note, the EPA doesn't have any regulatory power to force state or local government.
Expired, Mr. Menzer. I'll give you two more seconds. Go for it.
Okay, so my research showed that the resolution is not valid. It doesn't violate the 9th and 10th Amendment of the Constitution, and therefore I think
thank you, sir.
is right.
Thank you, Mr. Menzer. Mr. Lewis, you were up next.
Yes, I just wanted to take a minute to recognize and welcome our state senator, Doug Overby. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate all the work you do.
Any kind words, Doug Overby, Senator? Well, thank you, sir.
We kept waking him up.
Yeah, Farmer said he had to keep waking you up. How many years did you sit up here or downstairs? I know you've been here and done that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's an honor to be here. I served from 1982 to 1990. We didn't have all the fancy equipment and laptops and emails, but we did have Roy Crawford to pick on.
That made it all right. We are glad to have Mr. Crawford back. He's back and raring to go. Let's see. Mr. Aker, did you want the floor?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to address the comments concerning our EPA resolution that was passed last month. I believe that it stems from property owners not liking to be told whether or not they can clear their riverbank, what percentage of plants that they can plant on their pieces of property, and what types of plants those might be, and other things that are invasions of commonly held principles of property ownership. We would like to have that scaled back somewhat. We were told last month that we had to vote for a stormwater resolution, that we didn't have a choice. We were going to be fined because of it. And it was several of us's position that if the rules already exist and we're going to be fined because of those rules, we don't need to adopt any more. They already exist. It's up to someone else to enforce them. But now that we've implemented them, it's up to us to enforce them. So when people look back years from now and they say, well, look here, Blount County adopted that right in there just like it was normal, we can't say, but the public really didn't want that because it's gone. We adopted it. It was force-fed from above, but now we've adopted it from below. We've said, yes, we agree with what you say. And that was the purpose of our resolution. We did what you forced us to do by passing this other resolution, but we'd really like to ask you to take a step back and quit forcing us to do things to take away the rights of our property owners. That was the purpose of the resolution. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, and the board is clear. This meeting is adjourned.